Gentlemen, today's Future Film Labs host, MATHIEU AJAN.
Woo! Where's the woos? Come on, guys. Hello, everyone. Hello, is this mic working? Make some noise if the mic is working. Amazing. It's always the perfect way to start. Thank you for coming out on a Saturday, lovely weekend to come to the next Future Film Labs. Welcome, it's lovely to have you all. Make some noise if you came here and it's Saturday today. Make some noise if you don't know what day it is and you're a bit confused. Perfect. So, we've got an amazing session today. It's going to be all about cinematography, but just going to make some special announcements. First of all, if you've been to Future Film Labs before, you should know we do some amazing competitions. So there is the opportunity to win an amazing Lacy hard drive. Come on, who wants a hard drive today? You're getting a hard drive because no one else wants it. Actually, I can't guarantee that. I'm just here on a Saturday. But we're going to kick off the day with our amazing panelists who we're now going to introduce to the stage. So when I call out their names, please make some amazing noise for them. So we've got Paul Dudbridge. Make some noise, please. Got Izzy Jones. Go for it. And we've got one more gentleman, and we're going to test this. If I scream his name loud enough, he might actually just come through the door. And we've got OLAN COLLARDY. I tried to say his name in slow motion, but it didn't work. So I need you guys to say his name, and he's going to come out magically. 3, 2, 1, OLAN COLLARDY, go on. Cool, I'm not just lonely by myself and he didn't come. So we all did it together. But he's going to be joining us very shortly, so when he does come, we'll give him a massive round of applause.
Give him nothing.
But for now, we'll chat to our first group of panelists.
Thank you.
Hello. This is working amazingly. So, welcome to Future Film Labs. Thank you very much for coming today. I'm just going to get you to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about yourself to the audience as well.
No worries.
Okay, you go first.
Yeah, I can do. I'm IZZIE. I am a cinematographer and I also work in lighting on films and television. I've shot a feature documentary that's coming out this year called Bam Bam, and a sort of a bunch of short films. One of them is called Fuck the Boxes, that's been doing really well recently. And I'm sort of in development for some other stuff, yeah.
Okay. My name is Paul Dudbridge. Cinematographer, and most recently as well, producer and director on various things. Got a few projects lined up for the summer, a couple of features, and we finished produced a zombie film sort of February, March time, and a couple of sci-fi stuff. I'm looking at a lot more genre now. I used to start off in drama, but now I'm looking at sci-fi and westerns and all that kind of stuff. I got a nice background in visual effects. Yeah, so that's where we're at.
Okay, amazing. Just to clarify, does everyone in the audience know what a cinematographer is? So one person knows. You guys are in the perfect place because now you're going to learn what cinematographer is. Or is everyone lying? Does everyone know what a cinematographer is? Okay, make some noise if you don't know what a cinematographer is. Make some noise if you just don't like making noise. Okay, amazing. So we're going to learn a bit more about these two amazing people's journeys. So I guess a perfect way to start is, how did you start your journey? Oh, wow, we've got a special guest. Guess who it is? What's his name, everyone? What's his name? What's his name?
Sorry, I'm so late.
It's all right. Welcome to the stage. Perfect timing. You're just going to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am OLAN COLLARDY. I'm a DP/cinematographer. Been doing this for a number of years now. Yeah, does that suffice?
Super. Amazing. So we're just going to kick off. And the first question was, how did you start your journey into becoming a cinematographer?
Oh,
Anyone can, anyone can
I
take
got
it.
no one to turn to.
That's it, literally.
Okay. My filmmaking journey, I was going right back. I started when I was 11. My dad bought a video camera to film like sports days and holidays and stuff like that. And then my sister and I took it off him and decided to shoot our own little adventure movies and stuff. And it was all done in camera. Like there was no editing, so we'd start recording at the beginning of the shot. When we'd stop recording, that was the end. All music had to be done in camera. There was no mixing. We're talking 1988, something like that. Yeah, so then each year I just making new movies, and then we discovered editing, sort of tape to tape, and then digital came in. And I'm a big believer in reading and educating yourselves via books. I've written 2 books on filmmaking for students, and I think that's the best way to learn is by doing it yourself and by reading. I didn't go to film school. And that's how I started. And then bit by bit, your films get bigger. You meet different people who then say, hey, do you want some money to do what you're doing? And you go, yep, thanks very much. And then you get bigger kit. And I would educate myself by reading like American Cinematographer magazine. And I would see the breakdowns in the photos. And then I'd go to my local hire company and go, can I have a bit of that kit, what they're using in there? And he'd go, yeah. And I would go and use it. I'd mess it up. I wouldn't use it correctly. And then I'd go try again. And it would work. And that's how you just keep progressing until you end up hopefully doing something with a better budget and someone's paying you to do what you love.
Amazing. What about yourself, Izzy?
Yeah, I have to say that I have a pretty similar background in terms of starting quite young and making like little things on like my dad's little camcorder. And then I think the biggest thing that happened to me was that I was on the sort of like guinea pig program of the BFI Film Academy back in 2012, 2011, something like that, which kind of just like completely changed my whole entire sort of worldview around filmmaking and like the opportunities I had. So I think I owe a lot of what I do and like most of my jobs probably to like the BFI, whether indirectly.
This is very emotional right now.
Yeah, it is. I'll start crying.
I want to start crying as well. Wow.
Yeah, so it kind of like became like this massive networking hub almost where I could meet like directors that I really wanted to work with and sort of like develop together. So like one director I work with, Abel, he's probably like the biggest collaborator for me at the moment. We met through the BFI, and like I went to film school as well, which I can talk about as well. But like, yeah.
Okay, amazing.
That's pretty much it.
So they're in the perfect place. So, what about yourself? What was your journey?
It's a very different to you, Paul, and Izzie. I didn't go to film school. I didn't make any movies when I was a teenager. But I mean, what I would say is, I mean, looking back now, I've always been some kind of creative. So when I was a lot younger, I used to draw pictures. In my teenage years, I was into music. I was in a band. I played keyboard. Dabbled in creative writing, fashion to a small extent, interior decor as well to a small extent. But I went to university. I studied computer science at UCL, so not filmmaking. I had a long-ish career in the city. I used to call my filmmaking career like a Batman Bruce Wayne. So I would, go to work. I had a 9 to 5. I'm working in the city, and in my spare time, I would shoot movies. And I suppose this is a lesson to pretty much anyone that it's never too late to become a filmmaker. I mean, I stumbled into film kind of like in my late 20s. Picked up a Canon 550D.
Yeah. Magic Lantern.
Yeah, the Magic Lantern. Shot a couple of things. Again, I stumbled into filmmaking at a very dark time in my life. I lost my dad. About 6 years ago, kind of around the time I picked up the camera. So I think for me, me putting my energy and I suppose my time into that camera was a way for me to escape from dealing with the grief I was suffering around that time. And I suppose with anything you dedicate your time, your resources into, you will become kind of good at it. So that's how I stumbled into filmmaking. Again, it's part of that. You create stuff. I looked on YouTube. I used to read a lot. So I would shoot stuff on my 550D, look on YouTube, someone's shot with the same camera, but mine looks whack. And then I'll go, what have they done? So, they shot with a 50 mil, the Nifty 50.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought that, I shot with it was still whack.
Yeah.
So it was that constant iteration and, going back to the drawing board, reading and following people who are avid filmmakers. And at some point, you get into this cycle of chasing your taste. So you're tasting your abilities and you're, ever trying to chase that gap. And I suppose for me, the gap isn't so wide anymore. I think I'm kind of close to, creating images that are quite close to.
I think you're there. I think you're quite,
kind of there. So that's a very long-winded tale as to how I go into filmmaking.
Okay, cool. So everyone's journeys into becoming a cinematographer is quite interesting, but the definition of a cinematographer can vary. What is it for you individually? What does being a cinematographer mean to you individually? And how do you feel if someone calls you a videographer?
Well, I just like creating images. I think I call it like being a cinematographer. Being each shot for me is a puzzle, and it needs to be solved. There's a framing issue, there's a lighting issue, there's an editing issue, and it's a puzzle. And when you crack it, you get as close as you can to cracking it, and once you've done it, the puzzle resets itself, and you've now got a new puzzle over here, which is the next shot. And I just love that, and I thrive on that, and I get on the adrenaline. And when I'm on set, I'm just a machine. It's just adrenaline. I don't eat much. I don't sleep much.
Join the army.
Yeah, and it's just focus, and I love it. And I remember once, as an analogy, I was speaking to a friend of mine who's a guitar player in a band, and anyone who's creative, he was saying he could spend days trying to find that chord. And he says, keep trying it, he'll try that combination, and eventually he'll crack it. And he said that creative buzz is very similar to when we're shooting stuff, and someone that isn't creative will never understand that. And I just love that challenge of working within the resources that you've got, because like you were saying, you want to aim for this, but the kit and the resources that you've got is down here. Yeah. So how can you rationalize it? Do you go for that, which is what I've done before, and you fall on your face because you're asking the audience to make concessions about what they're watching? Or do you go, well, we've got these resources, what could we do that's maybe just above what we can achieve? And step out of your comfort zone and go, we're going to go for that. Doesn't quite work, but then you try and fix that issue on the next film that you make, and it just keeps going. So that for me, as being a cinematographer, just the lighting and just creating something that supports the script. It's lovely.
What about you, Izzy?
I think that does cover it pretty well. It's like, it is a complete combination of technical skill and like storytelling visually. Yeah, I think it can be easy to get really bogged down in thinking, oh no, but I've only got this camera, but everyone else is shooting on this, and like not thinking about like story and lighting, like because like my work in lighting has really helped sort of bring a lot of life to what I shoot. But like, yeah, I think it's easy to forget that cinematography is story. It's cliche, but people are like, oh, you can shoot on your phone, and like you can, like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know, but that's a huge cliche. But like, yeah, yeah, I think you've pretty well covered it. Really, it's like you have to love solving problems on the fly and in pre-production, which is what I really love about it as well. Yeah. I'm trying to...
Olan,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, cinematography, I mean, it has the word cinema in it, which is kind of story. And yeah, you made a joke about videography, and I think the difference between the two is a cinematographer is creating a world, and like you said, you're telling people to believe this world. And I think as a videographer, so the way I would explain it is that a videographer, you're brought into a space and you capture what you see, what's there. But as a cinematographer, you have to create that world for people to believe what's there. So you could either bring a cinematographer into this space, a videographer into this space, and say, shoot this event.
Yeah. We've got nothing against videographers, by the way.
And I mean, it's grand. A cinematographer has to create this world, so you have to create this light, and you have to know what that fixture is and how that light falls, and putting people into. So you have to create this world that doesn't exist, and then get people to believe that world. So it's also part of storytelling as well. So I think that will be kind of the main difference. I would say you have to know how to create a world versus, just capturing that world.
Okay, cool. I just want to get an idea of the audience today. How many directors are in the room? Just put your hands up or make some noise if you're a director. Okay, so what attracts you guys to work with directors? What is it that makes, influences your decision when you get that DM, hey, I've got this project?
It's an interesting one, I guess, as a working DP. I'm no longer like Bruce Wayne, I'm just Batman all the time. So now that you have to pay the bills from the money you earn from your DP work, I mean, whether it's like a DM via Instagram or whether something has come through your agent, you look at the director, because I guess you're serving the director's vision. So you have to ensure that your tastes align. And in most cases, a director will reach out to you because they think you have that ability or you have that eye to make their story come alive. But at the same time, I work a lot with first-time directors as well. And also just being able to work with someone who has, when there's mutual respect, you respect the director, they respect your voice, and filmmaking is all about, teamwork. So for me, it's all about someone who's open to ideas and someone who has that taste. I mean, I came from a world where I was working with no budget, so I mean, for me, that's a challenge as well to be able to create a world out of nothing. So for me, it's all about someone who has a taste. I'm looking for someone who's open to I guess, my suggestions.
Collaboration is key.
Yeah, collaborations.
By yourselves.
I think, yeah, it's the whole collaborative thing between a director and a cinematographer that is so key. Like, I find like I have to be able to like really get on with them, like personally as well. And I think, yeah, you have to like their ideas. And I think what's important for me, if I was like trying to see if I fit with someone, is that they've got something, I don't know, like a bit unique about what they want to shoot. Because stylistically, I think what I tend to work with is a lot of like handheld stuff and like sort of more like realism pieces. So I think, yeah, that's quite important to me. And I think people find me through that as well. Like I'm shooting a film next month, and like load of DPs like applied to it, and we all sent our reels in. And I just sent them a little short film, and then we had like a meeting, and they said, yeah, we'll go with you because like we really liked the fact that this short film is what we were wanting to go with. And like, because everyone else had sent in all these like shiny like, reels and stuff, which you don't need. You don't need like slow motion in a dark room with some smoke. Like, that's not really cinematography or storytelling.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm on the other side of that sometimes as well, because I'm a director hiring a DP, or I'm a DP, working with another director, and I think sometimes it falls into three categories. If I get a call from a director looking for a DP, they're either a first-time director who hasn't got a regular DP, their regular DP isn't available, or the regular DP won't work with them. And I had something once where I thought, which one is it going to land? And it turned out to be the first one where they didn't know what they were doing. They're quite new to the game. Yeah. And I think there's no harm in that. I love working with new directors, as long as they are accepting to where they are. And they're open to input and also to listen. And I think that collaborative thing is a really big thing. And I think if I'm looking for a director as well, sometimes that knows editing, can tell a sequence and can tell a story. And I think, because I'm always thinking as a director or as a DP, how's this going to cut? Every single shot is never a standalone shot. It's always going to have something before and something after it. How's it going to cut? And sometimes I'm on set and the director's setting something up and we're saying, but where's that going to cut? It's not going to match with what we've done. Where are you going to go after this? And then, we'll sort it in the edit. And it's like, no. We're going to be in the edit and go, that doesn't work. So now we're into pickup days or whatever. So someone that says, do you know what, I don't quite know how we're going to do this. Any thoughts, Paul? Brilliant. And if you're a director that goes, no, it has to be this way because, I've lived this film or this short film for the last 6 months. I know every single cut, and the fact that you're coming at me with a different approach means I'm going to shoo that away because that doesn't work, when actually your idea might work better. And I've had it as a director where I've got my 10 shots and the DP might suggest a different version for shot 3, and I go, do you know what, actually I love that, but I can't make it work with my shot 2 or my shot 4, so even though it's a better idea than mine, I can't make it cut. And just be delicate that way. And I say to student directors sometimes, be open to that. And if you've got 10 shots that you want to do, and the DP suggests something different for shot 1, and it's better than yours, and you can go with it, then go with it. And then the actor suggests something for shot 2 that's better than yours, then go with it. And then the grip says, hey, I've got this thing I did the other day, do you want to try that? Then the catering person goes, I got an idea. Anyway, everyone gets when the audience watches that film, there isn't a little subtitle in the bottom corner of the screen going, suggested by the grip. Who gets the credit for that?
Director.
The director does. But the director was confident enough to go, your idea is better than mine, let's go with that. They're still the leader. And I think insecure and inexperienced directors feel threatened and they go, no, it has to be this. It has to be my approach, or it's not my film, somehow it's being taken over and being taken off me. So yeah, that's where, kind of I am. I like to see someone that can work and accept other people's ideas, and work collaboratively, really.
Has there been any times on set where you've had a bit of conflict with a director or cast crew? Like, how did you deal with it? Has anyone, like, you know, the catering person has took the camera and started trying to touch your...
I think the most recent one, I mean, I wouldn't, well, conflicts come in all manner, shapes and forms. So yeah, was shooting a music video, I think sometime this week, and it was last shot of the whole shoot. Actually, was a 2-day shoot, and I, you know, set up the shots, speaking to the gaffers, lined up the camera, and ready to go. And the director walked in, and she's like, "This is not what I had in mind. The shot is meant to be like wider." In my head, I was thinking a very like tight shot. And sometimes as a DP or a creative, in fact, like your ego kicks in at some point, like because the director has conflicting ideas, it makes you feel as though, oh man, I'm whack. I set up this whack shot, and then you want to, I guess, fight your corner and tell, oh, it's tight because we haven't got enough extras, or it's tight because it's going to look better this way. And, you know, she was insistent and just like, no, I need the shot wider. And then she walked away. And I was like, oh, damn, this is, I mean, we've had a great 2 days, and it's like, oh, this very last shot's going to, like, just throw it away. I'm like, okay, talk to the ACs, let's put the zoom lens on and just make it wide. And, you know, open up the scene. And, you know, I looked at it, I'm like, well, she's kind of got a point. And, you know, by the time we worked through the scene, it looked amazing. So I think sometimes when we have conflicts on set, it's worth always checking your ego. Is this your ego talking? Like, oh man, this is OLAN. You say my shot is whack. So when you're open to people's ideas, I think you make better work. Like I said, the scene looked amazing when we opened up the shot. So yeah, I think when you have that conflict, check your ego first. Don't take it personally. She wasn't saying my shot was bad. I mean, it's the same director who's been saying all the shots have been brilliant over the past 2 days, so it's nothing personal. So yeah, always check your ego when you feel there is a conflict on set, because usually it comes down to ego. So that's my example on how I resolved it. Just let the ego go.
Want to add anything?
Yeah, I think I've had like a couple of instances with like more commercial content where like producer can kind of get in and like interfere with what you're doing. Like they could be like, oh yeah, but like we should have a drone shot, and you're like, but why? Because it looks cool. But like and I think that's one of those things where you have to either fight your corner or kind of like, again, like swallow your pride a bit and just be, you know, because at the end of the day that's commercial. But yeah, it's perspective, definitely. Like, you can get so in your head about what you're shooting and forget that it is a collaborative process, and like, it's the director's vision to your like, their sort of left or right arm, whatever, for communicating that. So yeah, I think perspective and like, opening up to new ideas and thinking, okay, it's not just this story that's in my head, it's in everyone else's head too, so.
Cool.
Can I just check this whack? I haven't heard that before.
Bad,
right.
Yeah.
I'm older than these guys.
All right, sorry, we're still hip and young, all cool.
Well, actually, what I say in the meetings, actually, when I'm before the shoot, I always say, like, on the day, I will fight my corner. I'll make a suggestion, and I will, if we kind of butt heads, I will push for my point of view, but I want them to know, rest assured, when the dust settles and we have to shoot, we will always go with what the director wants. Just so then on the set, when we are sort of going, you know, they know that this isn't going to go on and on and on, and I'm going to shout louder and she's going to shout louder. I will back down eventually, but I really, if it's important, I think we need this. And I had something recently, about a couple of years ago, where the AD was running the show because the director wasn't quite secure, and I thought we were going to do a particular shot that I thought we needed, because it sets up the entire area, the orientation. We needed this was the wide shot. And we rigged for it, and we set for it, and then the AD goes, I don't think we've got time to do this. And then the director says, yeah, Paul, we haven't got time. And basically it was like he was just repeating what the AD was saying. And I was like, guys, we're rigged. Like, I could hit the record button now, continue arguing with you, and then we get the shot on the can. They go, no, we haven't got time. And I was like, okay, but if we're in the edit, and you go, well, we don't know where the person is, how's it going to cut? And we're still talking, The shot lasts 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, guys, no worries. And then the gaffer's looking at me going, we're rigged. And then we're like, yeah, don't go there. We're done. It's cool. And you back down. And then you watch the edit, and then you go, oh, yeah.
Told you so.
Yeah, but it is a little bit frustrating because I had a cameraman mentor of mine, and everything he said, I just sucked it up. It was awesome. And he would always teach me just to, wherever you are frame-wise, just come back wider. So a close-up becomes medium close-up becomes medium. And it's more cinematic that way because you're getting the area, you're getting the location, you're getting the sets, you're getting the costumes. And unfortunately, there's a lot of sort of new filmmakers that everything has to be in there. Everything has to be wide open, so you get a blurry background, and you don't know where anything is because you can't see anything. And you watch the old timers, you watch the old school movies, and that's, they don't shoot at 1.8, they shoot at 4 because they want to see the depth of the location. And so I'm always conscious of just pulling back and seeing that, and sometimes, it can be a bit awkward if, the director doesn't quite have that. And they can see it in their heads. And I'm going off on a tangent here, but I call it the jigsaw of like 50%, where the director sees 50% of the location because they're on the set, and they film 50%, as it were. So whenever they watch their film or their footage, they see 100% of their film. They go, yeah, that was brilliant. I know where we were. All the sets on camera because they were there. But you were to show that film to my mum, she would only get 50% because she wasn't there on set. But the director was, and the director's like, no, it's all there, man. We knocked out of the park. And I'm like, yeah, we had that wide shot for 2.5 seconds, and then we were in there, and we didn't see anything of the other part of the room. So it's difficult sometimes as a DP to go, okay, it's cool, your bag, and see you at the cinema when the audience is scratching their heads or whatever.
It's not easy.
No.
Okay, so I just want to paint a scene for you three. So you've been messaging the director, you've been collaborating frequently, and they're not replying to your messages. And you go out to the shop, you see them working with another DP.
Right.
And you was the director, you was the DP that gave them the first shot, you believed in them, took your rate off. How does that make you feel? Have you been in that circumstance before?
So you've worked with a director and then they're off?
They're off, like, they've just moved on. And they're getting, they contact you for the smaller jobs, but the bigger ones, your phone doesn't seem to be ringing.
I think...
Is that a thing? Is that a thing?
It is a thing, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But the thing about being a cinematographer that's great is that, like, you have the space and freedom to work with, like, loads of different directors, whereas directors, it's just one of them. So actually I've found, like, directors getting jealous when I'm working with other people as well. It's kind of like, it happens. Like, if they find someone that they think is going to communicate what they want to communicate better or, like, more appropriately to that certain job or whatever, like, you just have to take it on the chin, like... It happens. It does, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I think.
No, yeah, I mean, I always
Does it hurt?
It does, yeah, of course it does.
Yeah, I always call it the politics of filmmaking. It's very political. So yeah, like you said, I mean, it's happened to me. It's happened to friends of mine where you've worked with the director, you've given them the first Vimeo staff pick. They've won festival awards, and I suppose when people come into the limelight, they get bigger budgets, and I suppose with bigger budgets you have more expectation from you. So it's not just sometimes it's not just a director saying, oh, sorry, I can't work with Matt. It's the producer or the exec saying, we need Paul. Paul has got experience. Paul has shot Nike. Paul has shot Adidas. And, OLAN has only shot some Paul. So sometimes you have to be able to see that there is another side to the equation, whereby it's pressure from the exec or the agency saying, you have to work with X DP. Also, people... move on. Maybe it's maybe they want to try a different style. It's best not to take it personal, but when you're in that moment, it can feel very personal. And like Izzy said, we as DPs, you can work 30 days in a month, if that many number of days in a month. Directors can only work once or twice. So rather than getting bitter about that one director. I mean, there's Instagram just like surf and slide into DMs. I'm like, hey, do you want to have a coffee? So there are tons of directors you can. And it hurts when you're there, but just try not to
play directors in the sea.
Take it personally.
Yeah, it does sting, but I think I heard something a long time ago that I kind of remember when this sort of thing happens, and it's the 5x5 rule, where it's just like, if it's not going to matter in 5 years' time, don't spend more than 5 minutes on it now. And in 5 years' time, I'm going to be on something else, and I'm going to go, remember that director that didn't hire you for that web commercial that cost 50p? And you're like, you know, I'm on to other things. But yeah, just having your ego in check. And also, you don't know what the situation was, and just because you don't get fed that information, you immediately jump to malice. You immediately jump to some kind of, oh, I've done something wrong, when actually they're about to tell you, but the exec said, no, you have to have this person. Our money is contingent on this person coming on board. Yeah. And I can remember that from being on the other side of it, because I've had that when you're like, oh, I was literally 5 minutes away from calling you, but you've rang me, but now it looks like I was avoiding it. Yeah. And I remember I had a system, years ago, we had a cast of a movie that got together, and I was going to have dinner with my friend Ben. It was just the two of us, and he was in the movie. And then as we were leaving to the restaurant, another cast member, John, knocked on his door and said, hey, dude, we're going out for dinner. Do you want to join us? And then Dave, who was the fourth cast member, saw that me, John, and Ben had gone out for dinner. And it was like, from his point of view, it looked like we'd gone, hey, guys, let's go out for dinner without Dave. Yeah. And it's like, it wasn't the case. And so I remember that when I'm on the other side and go, well, maybe, you know, it was just that way, you know, it worked out that way. And if it is malice and they don't like you, next, you know.
Feels a bit like Jerry Springer right now. Getting all the emotions out.
That's it though, because like it should be a vocation, not a job. Like if you're not like kind of upset about, you know, missing out on something, then it kind of probably is an indication that you're in the wrong field, because like you do get so involved personally, and like, you know, your friends are who you work with, and it is like it's not an office job, like, you know, like that. So I think that's one upside if you want to.
Yeah. No, it's important. It's important to show you care as well. So that's a big part of it. If you could go back in time, because think about it now, you know, you're working on bigger sets and bigger productions, but when you first started out, what was the common mistakes you feel like you was making as DPs?
If I could go back in time, I think I would have been a lot more intentional about my work and kind of how I took jobs. Because like I said, I've been messing about with cameras for like 6 years, and I was only signed or repped like about 14 months ago. That journey could have been expedited, I'm assuming. What I mean by intentional is sit yourself down and ask, actually, what kind of work do I want to do and where do I want to be? Okay, fair enough. I had my Batman Bruce Wayne thing going along, so perhaps the urgency wasn't there to, you know, become like the world best DP, because hey, I had like a city job and that was fine. I was paying the bills, and you know, filmmaking was a hobby. But you know, if I could go back in time, just looking at the landscape, working out what types of directors you want to work with. I mean, film. Yeah, we say we are DPs, and it's a vacation, and if sometimes it feels like when we're on set, we're having fun and it's all fun and games, but this is a career. Like in 10 years, you have to ask yourself, where do I want to be? In 20 years, where do I want to be? So kind of just sitting yourself down and maybe drawing a map of where do I want to be? What directors are making the kind of work I want to make? Who should I be sitting down and having coffees with? Do I need mentors in this industry? Do I need to expand my network? And I think when you are a lot more intentional about your craft and your art, I think things happen a lot quicker. And you end up not just wasting time, just, you know, shooting a short film just because someone says you can make a short film, and you've just wasted, I don't know, 2 or 3 days working with someone who's not really that passionate about the art form, or isn't really going to do anything about the work you've just made. So yeah, just being really conscious about who your collaborators are, and just ensuring you're spending your energy in the right place, so you don't spend 6 years and you're just where you started.
Cool.
I think I would have maybe like worried less about what I was doing and where I was. I think that's what a lot of my energy was spent on, was just thinking like, oh, why am I not like this person who's the same age as me and is doing all these cool things, and just like kind of enjoyed it, because like I kind of got into it like very young. Like I kind of knew that I wanted to do cinematography when I was about 16. And like, I'm just thinking like, a 16-year-old is not going to be shooting. Like, no.
You never know, you know.
And I spent so long worrying about that, and like kind of not, you know, necessarily enjoying time with my friends. Like, I don't know, going traveling, or like stuff like that. And I was so concerned and obsessed with kind of like, oh, I need to be doing this, this, and this, and this, like making these connections. And it's kind of like DPing is a long game. Like it's your whole career. So if you start and you're like shooting like Netflix shows, it's like, where's the fun? Like, where's the journey?
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
I would say, for me, I think it's the mind game, it's the mental game, and I would go back in time and say to my younger self, I would say, check the tape that's playing in your head. And everyone's got a tape that's playing on their head. I'm not good enough. He's better than me. She's far ahead. How did she get that job? I can't do that, what they're doing. I can't use that kit. Oh, and it's that. So just listen into that tape that's playing in your head, because I kind of didn't go for things that I could have gone for, or I know I'm not there yet, so I'm not going to go for it. And then I see the final result of the thing that did happen, and I'm like, whoa, I could have done that. They hired who for that? And I think that happens a big time. And to a certain extent, it happens now. You're kind of like, you want to go up there, and it's like, I can't aim for that. And it's just like, yeah, you can do it, because what's the worst that can happen? They say no, and so that's what I would say. And so then basically, if you can do that, then 10 years becomes 5, and 5 becomes 2.5 or whatever, because you fast track. Obviously, you don't want to go the other way, where you're like, I'm brilliant, and there's nothing I can learn, and there's nothing that anyone can teach me, because I've got a 5D, and I can do slow motion, and I can point the camera into the sun and get a nice lens flare, stamp, I'm a DP. And I see that all the time, and it's like, can you tell a story? Do you know what, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I would say to myself. I would say, check the tape that's running in your head.
Listen to
delete
yourself.
it.
Delete it. Archive it. I want to talk a bit more about the art form as well. So for you all personally, is there any cinematographers out there who inspired you, or is there any pieces of work you've watched that you feel like have really touched you, and why? Why did it resonate with you?
I think for me it was so there's a DP called Bradford Young. I'm sure you know Bradford Young. He did a film, an indie film called Mother of George, I think in 2012. And I think for me that was the first time, the way he lit the dark skin on screen, it was just like, it was just mental, because usually in film you think, dark skin, I have to blast it with light so I can see the features. I think for me, just the way he underexposed the images and kind of how it got the texture on the shin to the dark skin was just like, this is mental. And I think after that I started following his work, and I think that kind of empowered me as a DP to, because I like underexposure. I'm sure everyone here likes underexposure. So just having that boldness and that courage to, I guess, know that actually I like it this way and it's fine. I think, so for me, I'd say Bradford Young. All the films he did with Ava DuVernay before she became like a hot shot. So whether it's like Middle of Nowhere. So he had this trajectory of really small indies. And I think, again, it's an encouragement for me that if you keep on keeping with your art and your art form, at some point your big break would come. Again, not prescribing when his big break was. He did Selma with Ava DuVernay, and I think shortly after that, he did some other films, The Most Violent Year and End Them Body Saints, but then he got the Star Wars gig, and he did Arrival, and I think he then became that big deal. But no one, talks about his filmography that covers his low-budget, small indies. So I think for me, it was just like, just keep on doing your thing. At some point, your time will come. So for me, he's a big inspiration for me. Not just for his art, and I think also just how his approach towards filmmaking is someone who's very conscientious about how he shoots and what he shoots and the kind of projects he does. Because cinematography is about filmmaking. It's about storytelling. And if you're not telling stories or telling human stories, and we're not, changing lives or perspectives, then I think it's just a faff, I suppose. Like I said, filmmaking isn't about like a big shaft of light and haze. It's a lot more. It's a lot more than that. I think when you harness the power of cinema, I think we can change the world, I suppose.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, I'm the same in respect to like Reed Morano, whose career I was following from when she shot Frozen River, like years ago, and now she's kind of directing as well, and like shooting, directing, and like she was always just a massive inspiration, especially like as a female cinematographer. Is like when I kind of like got into her work, like there wasn't really anyone, and now it's like we've got people getting into BSc and stuff, which is huge. And like, yeah, so I always thought she was a massive inspiration, and I loved her work. And like, Kill Your Darlings, I thought was amazing, which is 35mm filmmaking. Yeah, and then also I really like Ed Lachman. I think he's an example of like a sort of more indie DP who hasn't so much gone into the Hollywood like narrative, and like I really like that because I think, you know, he kind of is evidence you can have a career sort of outside of like mainstream cinema, if you will. But also like some directors as well I find really inspirational visually, like Agnes Varda, documentary maker who died recently. I think like she did a film called The Gleaners and I, which I saw at an art gallery a few years ago. And like there's this shot where with a lens cap, she's got this little DV camera and she's like walking around, and you can see the lens cap in shot. She just has this amazing monologue about like the significance of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just blew my mind, and it's one of those little things that's always stayed with me. I just find like, I don't know.
I'll be looking for the lens cap in your...
Yeah.
Hopefully it was intentional.
It just goes off.
Well, my kind of awareness for filmmaking and lighting came when sort of 89, when I started shooting stuff. I was a big fan of Indiana Jones and Back to the Future and all those 80s movies. And Indiana Jones, the DP was a guy called Doug Slocum, and I remember watching as an 11-year-old, I was looking at this poster magazine of Indiana Jones, and I couldn't take my eyes off the image. I don't know what it was. And then looking back, there was like a bit of diffusion over it. There was this amber backlight, and it was just like a rim around sort of Indy's hat, and I was just like, oh, you know, this is brilliant. And now I've got all this amber backlight in all my work now. And Dean Cundy, who shot like Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, you know, movies like that, and I just love the sort of simplicity of it. It just looks, it's not drawing attention to itself, like you were saying about shafts of light, and it's just like, you know, same with the lens flare and shafts of light, and it's like a good DP, I think, creates the appropriate images, not beautiful images, and if they're beautiful, that's wrong. And I think Roger Deakins said recently, he said, you know, if someone comes up to me and says, I thought your work was brilliant, then he's failed because they've been aware of it, and they shouldn't be aware of it. They should just be sucked up in the movie. So those guys, I think, really sort of, you know, kind of got me. They got me before I realized I'd been had. And I was just like, oh, I love their work. Who are they? And then you start seeing the same name come up on things. Yeah, so it was two for me.
Amazing. I'm going to throw out to the audience soon, but I'm going to ask another question. So as you've all been shooting, do you feel like you've really developed your personal style? So if someone sees a work, they'll be like, okay, that's an OLAN film, that's an IZZIE film, that's a Paul. I like the head nods, yeah, like, yeah. So yeah, like, do you feel like that's still in process, or you feel like what really defines your own personal style?
Someone want to go, but I mean, I don't want to be the guy.
Who's going to start first? You have to trump each other, but no, you know, it's no competition.
Well, it's like appropriateness to a project, really, like whether you're interested in it. Like I find I shoot a lot of like queer cinema and stuff because I think I just connect to it more, and like goes with kind of my identity, and like stylistically that can be kind of similar. Like there was a little panel at BFI Flair a few months ago with Future Film, and one of the things that someone said in the audience, because my film was screening, was like, oh yeah, this kind of looks like queer cinema, like trying to think of some other examples, but you know, the kind of like bright colours, like sort of film kind of like aesthetic. Yeah. And I was kind of like, oh no, have I got like an established aesthetic? Because you wanna be adapting to other directors' things.
Visions.
But then I thought about it, and it's like, well, no, because I work with lots of directors. It's just the kind of like style of that kind of
transfers.
Yeah,
identity.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a tough one, actually. Yeah. I must admit, there's a big debate with DPs about backlight, and some hate it, some love it, and the answer is it doesn't matter. It's whatever, you know, it's your personal taste. Yeah, I don't know. Occasionally, you know, yeah, you take your cues from the scripts, but then you kind of end up sort of you're lighting something a little bit similar to what you've done before. So you go, well, if that works, let's go with that, or if it doesn't work, let's change it. But yeah, I think I like dark and light. I don't like things too flat. But then there's a fine line. You don't want it looking lit. And sometimes, and I don't mean this in like an egotistical way, but sometimes I've watched my own stuff going back and I go, oh, how did we even light that? Yeah. And then I realize you did. And we did light it, and I remember what it looked like with the lights off, so I have lit it, but it looks natural, and I was like, oh, okay.
So damn good.
Yeah, it just looks too brilliant.
That's a good place
no,
to
but
be.
I mean, you kind of go, and then other times I look back on my stuff, and I go, whoa, that's 2 stops over there. That's literally, I was like, oh, look at my backlight, you know. And then, I don't know, yeah, and you catch yourself trying to, but in the early days, I used to be a bit bright, like, things too strong, so I'm pulling it back now, and pulling the camera back and all that kind of stuff. So, and using less cuts. That's another thing that I'm doing now. It's not cut, and, you know, you need a closer with the glass being picked up and all that kind of stuff. You know,
the window.
Yeah.
Cool. You set yourself up to go last, so this
yeah.
is special.
No, Style is a very interesting thing because, again, I was privileged to speak to Bradford Young when he came to England. I think, was it BSE last year or the year before? So I was asking him, how does he get his images looking so kind of like milky? There's just this texture to it. And so, you know, it was back when he was at film school and they had no lights and they had to shoot everything wide open and high ISO. And he's just carried that style, I suppose, up until now. And I guess that's what defines kind of his lighting style. And, you know, when I bring it back to myself, when I started shooting, I mean, I didn't have that many lights. All I had this softbox thing, and I had a mega boom. And I know if I wanted to light a subject, I didn't want the light to spill to the background. It was easier if I top lighted because the light would be kind of pointing down. You know, stick grids on it, put a boom stand there, and hey, let's go. And everyone till now, all my work, or most of it, is like top lit. And it looks pretty much the same. I say to everyone, I mean, I say to producers, all I need is a octodome and a mega boom, and I'm good to go. And I think, I would say I approach most things like that because I just know it works. But yeah, it's something I'm also sort of like self-conscious about. I'm like, I think I need to change things up. Things up a little bit. Also there's that thing about the OLAN lamp that everyone kind of jokes about. Again, it comes down to, okay, I can only light, you know, the subject and the background is a bit too dark. I have no lights to put in the background. Oh, let me put a lamp in the background. I mean, it looks aesthetically fine, and the lamp would, you know, illuminate the background as well. And hey, there you go. And then it just became the thing I did from pretty much everything until directors were like, actually, I don't think we need that lamp there. So you don't find the lamps on my work anymore. But so I find for me, style is kind of where you started, and, you know, it becomes like a comfort zone that you perhaps take on to all your future projects. So
Okay, cool. The IKEA partnership will come soon.
Top
I'm just going to throw it to the audience as well. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to put your hand up and ask a question. I think I saw someone just like rub their ear. Don't know if that was a question. Oh, amazing. Look at that. Sorry, there's just a mic for you.
Sorry.
Right.
The collaboration between the cinematographer and the other people that you work with, how much of that are you actually in charge of? And it's obviously very important what you were talking about with the lighting. You were also talking about how informative that's been for you. And you were talking about the teamwork. So as a cinematographer, how do you pull all those things together, and how much responsibility do you have for that in a film?
It's interesting because I was having a chat with my agent about that recently. He asked me, he said, Olan, how involved are you with things like production design? Because all your work is starting to look very similar. And I think when I jump on projects, I always want to know who the production designer is. Perhaps I have an interest in that world. So, because for me, I like color theory. I'm like, what's in the foreground? What are people wearing? So sometimes involved in wardrobe. Okay, the talent's going to be wearing an orange jumper. Okay, maybe the background should maybe, I don't know, green could pop. So I like, just because I have an interest in interior design and fashion to some extent, I like being part of that conversation. And, you know, it kind of helps sometimes when you're working with maybe first-time directors as well, who don't have a strong, I guess, picture or vision as to what they want their film to look like, and they're kind of looking for someone to help them kind of get over the line. So at the moment, yeah, kind of somewhat involved in, I would say, wardrobe and art direction, set design, but I'm starting to pull back just so my work doesn't always look the same. So yeah, let people bring something new to that space, and yeah, work with different colors and different lamps.
Cool. I just want to add to that as well. So what does that look like? Does it mean having lots of sit downs before the directors, watching films together? Like, what does that pre-production process look like?
References. So you're digging up references with directors. Sometimes directors would ask you if you have a production design you recommend. Yeah, I'd probably recommend 2 or 3 people I've worked with closely who we share the same taste as well, who like colors in the background, who like lamps. Yeah. So sometimes it's always handy to, just say, let's look for someone new. Let's look for a new production designer. Let's look for a new wardrobe person who have different aesthetics, and I think that's how your work grows, I suppose. So it would be sit down, sharing references.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Oh,
No. You first.
I think it's like it's kind of like that mutual respect, the relationship. Like, I don't want to come onto set and like not understand what we're shooting. Like, that kind of is the more passive videographer kind of thing. Like, I love to have like sit down chats, like go for coffee, a beer, even like with the script, and like talk it through, like with the director, shots, and like I want to know who the production designer is, like what the costume is. Like, I want to see photos of it. I want to see like the like acting reels and tapes that have been sent in, like all of that, because I want to like have it completely in my head. Like, I'll get references and then like go home and like watch like not 200 films, but like maybe lots 200 hours.
Lots of films.
Just like completely like get immersed in it, like completely. Because otherwise I think that's maybe doing more of a disservice to the film.
I mean, I think it should be, if everyone's doing their job right, it should be a fairly simple experience from the point of view of the costume designer is going to read the script, and they're going to should get the same tone with the conversations off the director, or it's muted colours, or we're going for this, we're going for that. And I think sometimes you get someone who's kind of new and they're trying to make their stamp, and then suddenly they want this in the shot and they want this bright colour here because they want to have this, and they're trying to say everyone, hey, look at my costumes, aren't they brilliant? When actually the opposite would have been the best appropriate thing to do. So sometimes when you speak to the production designer, you speak to the costume, and they kind of going, well, I want this and I think this and I think that, and you're sat there going, yeah, all fits, and if somebody comes in and you're going, well, actually, obviously, if we're doing a green screen thing and the costume designer's going, oh, I've got this green outfit on for the actor, and it's like, well, I didn't want a floating head. We talk about that, and she goes, no, it has to be green. It's like, no. So there has to be that collaboration. But obviously, if they've done the job right, there shouldn't really be. It's just you don't want to. It's people that want to prove themselves, and that's where you trip up, I think.
Got a question at the back there.
What would you say have been sort of the resources that have really helped you develop as a cinematographer? Like, Paul, you were talking about that you like to sort of read a lot. Like, what kind of stuff would you be sort of looking at?
Well, anything you can get your hands on. Any book at all, go on Amazon and just hit every single filmmaking book. And I would, I say to students sometimes, I said, you might read a book and 95% of it but there's that 5% that you don't. And if you times that by 10 books, that's a lot of information now that you know. And on top of that, it's nice to reaffirm the stuff that you do know. And you go, hey, that's my approach as well. I'm on a good path. And I think so any book, and just absorb it that way, and then go out and try something you've read in the book, and then come back to the books. I mean, if you think about it, everything you ever wanted to know on any subject in the world is either in a book or on Google, right? Ever. Okay, and I'm speaking to students, and I say, I want you want to be a camera assistant. Okay, do you own the camera assistant's manual? And they're like, no, what's that? And it's like, okay, well, go and buy that book, go and buy this book. And they say, oh, I can't afford that. The book's 40 quid. And I'm like, well, that's version 6 is 40 quid, but version 4, you can get second hand for 15. you know. And they're like, oh, students go, oh, I can't afford that book. And I said, what did you do last night? And they went, oh, I went on the Lash. It was great. It was so-and-so. And it's like, well, don't go out doing that both Saturday and Sunday. Maybe do it Saturday, and just spend the Friday night buying a book that you then read. And I think it's just proved true. I go to camera people, I go to directors' houses who are, you know, older now and established, 50, 60 years old, and what's on the wall in their study? Racks and racks of books, 16 mil this, cinematography 101, da-da-da-da, you know, just so many books. And all these resources there, and no one seems to buy it. So, yeah, blitz Amazon, blitz eBay, buy my books, and then, you know.
That's it. There's a bookstore outside as well. No pressure.
The question was, what has kind of changed your game, so to speak? Is that the question?
What books to be reading, things to be looking at?
Books, yeah. I mean, I read tons of books. Like I said, I didn't go to film school. I was trapped in an office working 9 to whenever. So I never had the chance to be on set and shadow a DP and see how things work. I mean, I was just, all I had was books and YouTube and Vimeo. One thing that did really help me was this is American DP called Shane Herbert. He started this thing called Shane's Inner Circle.
Yeah.
I was one of the first people to join. I think it was like $7 a month, and I think now it's turned to I think like $20 a month. Yeah, I was on it when it was $7 a month, and what you get is you get behind the scenes. He does kit breakdowns, he does lighting breakdowns, and just being able to, I guess, for the first time, have that veil that, you know, that we have on film sets. I was able to, oh, that's how things work on set. Oh, there is a first AD. Oh, there is a first AC and a second AC. So I think being able to see what a film set looked like, and being able to just see, oh, if you place a light here and you had its diffusion here, that's the difference to make. So I think for me, yeah, definitely look for resources. I mean, like Paul said, online is where everything is at. There's someone teaching people, or, you know, there are things to be read out there. So for me personally, I find, you know, the work Shane Herbert did, setting up that inner circle, I'm sure it's probably still running at the moment. So I'll definitely encourage folks to, I mean, I wouldn't say sign up to it because it's quite pricey now. No, it's like $20 a month. But he does have a blog, like a film blog, which is free. So yeah, and there's like an archive of like tutorials. So definitely check that out.
His Instagram's quite interesting as well,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, he's a very big character.
I think just to think about another resource that I really enjoy, and I think it's not kind of utilised by a lot of filmmakers, is DVD commentaries. And I think if, you know, go home, look at all your DVDs, see on the back and go, oh, audio commentary by director and DP, and you're like, brilliant. So stick that on and watch that. And the amount of stuff that I've learned and then applied is ridiculous. Even if it's not, I remember watching Steven Soderbergh was commenting on Ocean's 11, and I just thought I'd put the commentary on. He's also his own DP. Yeah. And you don't just get, oh, they've put that light there, they've shot that, or whatever. It's the confidence stuff that you pick up on. And Soderbergh was saying, he was looking at George Clooney and Brad Pitt was stood in the corner of this warehouse just before they were going to do the heist. And they come over, and he's got the city in the background. There's a 2-shot. And he said, God, I hate this shot. I didn't have the time to get the singles. And you're like, I'll rewind that. Sorry, you're on set with Brad Pitt and George Clooney, and you don't like that shot because you didn't have time to get the singles. So next time I'm on set and we don't have time to get the singles, I'm going to give myself a pass. Yeah. Because Soderbergh can get away with it. But I'm looking at it going, it's beautiful. It's 2-shot. You see the city behind. Steve, what's wrong with that? You know? And Ridley Scott, I'm a big fan of Ridley Scott, and he does commentaries for every single film. And you know, even Alien Covenant. But he's just amazing. He's just a wonderful resource about editing, photography, production, dealing with bad actors, dealing with awkward actors, money issues, and you just soak it all up. So DVD commentaries.
Okay, amazing. I think that's all the time we've got for questions, if I'm right. Oh yeah, amazing. Voice of the back, voice of reason. So can we have a massive round of applause for our amazing panel, please?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to the panel. I'm basically trying to say this is your time to leave the premises, but but thank you. Really appreciate you. Are you gonna be hanging around? Are you gonna be here after all? No pressure. There's gonna be a workshop. Paul's gonna be doing a workshop.
Oh yeah.
After.
Doing a workshop, so hang around for that.
Yeah, so make sure. But we're gonna move on to the next section of the day. So another round of applause, please.